With the release of the new M4 MacBook Air, it's time that we answered the question, should you buy an M4 MacBook Air or an M4 MacBook Pro? In this video, I'm going to take you through who should buy this laptop, some of the notable differences and features, and also who should not buy this laptop, because often that is nearly just as important as asking who should buy the laptop and can really help make the decision for you when looking at these two devices. Let's get right into it. So as you know, recently Apple released the new M4 MacBook Air. It came in this brand new sky blue color, which really is just a tint of blue in a silver colorway. It's nice. I've seen people have bought it. It wouldn't be one that I would go for personally, but now as standard with an M4 MacBook Air, you do get the 16 gigabytes of memory, which is fantastic. If you've watched any of my other videos, you'll know that that is something that I've always complained about. And to be honest, I've said this in other videos as well. I think it's down to Apple Intelligence requiring more RAM to actually run effectively. But look, let's wait and see what comes of that. It still, however, only has 256 gigabytes of SSD storage. So if you're looking at the base model for both, I don't know, you're probably going to need more storage than that potentially. So if we're looking at base model M4 versus base model Pro, there is quite a difference. So number one, the base model Air comes with a 10-core CPU and an 8-core GPU, whereas the base model M4 comes with a 10-core CPU and a 10-core GPU. Now, will that be a massive difference? Not really, maybe in rendering times, but really it's probably not that significant. Next up, you've memory. Both have 16 gigabytes of memory now, which is fantastic. It's something I've always complained about with the Air always getting 8 gigabytes as standard. And with my M3 MacBook, I had to spec 16 gigs and obviously pay a bit extra for it, which was a shame. But it still lacks the storage. So the base MacBook Air comes with 256 gigs of storage and the Pro comes with 512 gigs. Now, arguably both are not that much, but still as a base model, you do want as much as you can get out of it. And if that is important to you, then you may be swayed towards the Pro or even adding it on as an optional extra on the M4 base model with the Air. Aside from kind of the specs, you're looking at two different price ranges. So here in Europe, or in Ireland at least, the M4 base model Air is €1,249, which is crazy when you compare it to the US prices, which I think is $999. And then the base M4 MacBook Pro is €1,949, which is obviously, it's nearly an 800 quid difference. So keep that in mind when I'm going through all of the different features and weigh that up against, is it worth it for you? You know, is the screen going to be worth 800 extra for you? It may not be, so just keep that in mind. With that said, the Air comes with either the 13-inch model or the 15-inch model. So that's kind of where you're looking at in terms of sizing. Personally, I have the 13-inch M3 and it's been perfect. It's probably the perfect size for a laptop. And then with the Pros, you have 14-inch as the base, or you can get 16-inch as kind of the bigger size model. So it really is up to you. Do you need that extra space? Do you travel a lot? Because if you travel a lot, you might want it as light as possible and a smaller screen to fit in your kind of backpack. So that's one thing to keep in mind. With the Air, you do get it's a 13.6-inch liquid retina display with True Tone. So essentially, it's an LCD screen with some nice color, and that is probably the biggest difference between it and the Pro. The Pro comes with a 14-inch liquid retina XDR display, and look, it is a night and day difference when you have them both side by side. And it's something you need to consider if you're going to be sitting outside a lot, do a lot of work outside or on the go. You probably might want the brightness to be a lot better, and if you do, you're definitely better off going with a Pro. If that's not a problem with you and you're only watching TV shows or you're only using it to consume media, or to be honest, I edit, I do a lot of kind of color grading and stuff, and it's fine on the Air. I have no problem at all. A lot of people still complain about the 60Hz screen, and to be honest, I would be kind of one of those people if it was on a phone, but on the laptop I really don't notice it as much. My main display that's kind of hooked up to my Mac Mini isn't anything fancy. It's not, I think it's like 75 Hz or something like that, so I really don't notice it on the laptop. Obviously on the Pro, if you're scrolling through documents like really quickly, you will notice it, but I do not think it's a kind of game changer, make or break for which one you're buying, to be honest with you. Where you will start to see the Air letting itself down against the Pro is in the I/O that's built into the laptop. Obviously, you only get two Thunderbolt 4 ports on the left-hand side, and then the MagSafe charger as well on the left-hand side, which you can't really do much bar charging. And then on the right hand side, you have your headphone jack. So that's literally all the I/O that you get with the Air, and it can be quite frustrating. So even when I was setting up this video, I'm using the Air to record it. I have the Pro here. but I was looking around the room trying to find a dongle to plug the mic in and all this sort of stuff. So it is a little bit of messing, and it's something to keep in mind. It's kind of confusing because the Air is probably best aimed at people who are moving around a lot. It's super lightweight, which I love compared to the Pro. The Pro actually is heavy and it can be a pain carrying around. But what I don't get is the Air is super lightweight. It's meant to be kind of taken everywhere, but then you also need adapters. So it kind of ruins the portability factor of it, if that makes sense. Now, obviously, if everything you have is Thunderbolt and you're only going to use 2 of them and charge it, then you're fine. But for me, I still have some devices that are USB that need to be plugged in. So just something to keep in mind. And obviously if you have HDMI, if you're still using HDMI, you're going to need that as well, which comes standard on the M4 Pro. Now, being realistic, the M4 has not really got much on the M3. They're basically the same laptop, I'd say, with a slight overclock on the M4 if I had to guess. So what have Apple added to the M4 over the M3? Not a whole pile, to be quite honest with you, especially with the Air. They're basically the same laptop with a new color and some slightly different features that were pulled from the Pro. So to kind of round it all down and sum it all up, I suppose, who should buy the Air? So if you're someone who has kind of light to medium workloads, you edit some videos, you do a lot of some Photoshop, you watch a load of Netflix, YouTube, all that sort of stuff, and you just generally use it as a computer is meant to be used, then yeah, go for the M4 Air. Makes complete sense. Well, powerful enough to do everything you need. I've enjoyed my M3 Air since I've got it, and the M4 Air is basically the same laptop, so I can categorically say that you're going to enjoy the M4 Air. And for that kind of base model value, if you don't need any storage, that's really good value. And in my opinion, it is the best laptop on the market right now, especially for that price point. It's super portable, it looks great, and it will last you for years to come. So highly recommend the Air for people who fall into that bracket. Now, who should buy the MacBook Pro, and should you spend whatever amount extra, a significant amount extra, to upgrade to a new and improved, better screen, better speakers? Well, those are the people who I would say are on their laptop a ton. And I mean, it's basically your main desktop, but you kind of take it everywhere with you. So if you have heavy workloads, if you're a developer that's doing like complex AI language, local language models and all this sort of stuff locally on your computer, you'll probably benefit from all those additional cores. And you might want to look at upgrading to the M4 Max or M4 Pro chips. If that's not you though, then you shouldn't really be going for the Pro. I love the Pro, I love the speakers, I love the screen, but it sounds silly, but I really don't like the weight. It's too heavy. When I go back to my Air, it's just so easy to one-handed hold walking around the house, throwing it on the bed. You know, like, it's just so easy to maneuver and do things with. Whereas you do not get that with the Pro. The Pro is heavy, you know it's there. It's in a bag and you're traveling, you definitely know it's in your bag. So it's something to keep in mind. And to be honest, they're using the same chip. You get basically, you just get a bit more from standard in the Pro than you do with the Air. Now, what I will say is if you're starting to upgrade your RAM, storage and all this sort of stuff in the Air, then you should just get the Pro, because you're very quickly going to get to the Apple pricing ladder that they've worked really hard on over the years, and it's just going to make more sense to go with a better chip or a better, and also have all these features. And to be honest, if you're the kind of user that needs, 24 gigs of RAM and above, you should probably be looking at a Pro anyway. I really don't see why you'd want an Air. Your workloads are likely way heavier than anything the Air can offer. Obviously there's no fan in the Air, which I think is a great thing. I've seen on a lot of my videos people giving out that there's no fan. I don't get it. I like that there's no fan. It's never overheated once. It's obviously never spun up, you've never heard it. But similarly on the Pro, the Pro that I've been using, it's never spun up once. Like under heavy workload, I've still never heard the fan. So they're just fantastically thermal managed laptops, and you can't go wrong with either. But if you're on a budget, the Air is definitely the one for you. And what I always say and would highly recommend is that you actually go into an Apple shop and try them out for yourself. Get some hands-on time with it, because it's all right watching a review. It's all right, listening to all the different YouTubers talking about it and all the top tech YouTubers. But until you have it in your hands, looking at the different sizes, do I want 13, do I want 15, 14 or 16 inch screens, you're really not going to know. It's very misleading when I'm showing you clips when you see it in person. So just keep that in mind and kind of take everything with a pinch of salt. But genuinely, these are the best laptops on the market right now. And the fact that Apple have updated the 16 gigabytes of RAM just makes everything better, and it puts my mind a little bit at ease, definitely. So with that said, if you've enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.